1 month after the FBI's search of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club and home, the Department of Justice is signaling it will appeal the authorization of a special master to review the documents seized. They want to continue to use those documents in their investigation, saying, quote, "The government and the public are irreparably injured when a criminal investigation of matters involving risks to national security is enjoined." And the Justice Department gave the judge a deadline to put her ruling on pause, or the DOJ will, in fact, appeal. So let's discuss. Katie Benner, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist with the New York Times, and Tali Farhadian-Weinstein, a former federal and state prosecutor in New York. She clerked for Merrick Garland and Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. Katie, you are the reporter on hand. What is the Justice Department saying tonight?
The Justice Department is essentially saying that they need Judge Aileen Cannon to allow them access to classified materials. They're not actually yet disputing whether or not a special master should go through the many thousands of documents that don't have classified markings or other things they took. They're really focusing on what was classified and marked top secret. They say these are documents that on their face are marked. It's easy to see that they were government property, that they did not belong to Donald Trump, and that they really do need those documents today to begin an assessment of national security risks.
Tali, I have not spoken to you since all of this started. There have been so many twists and turns, multiple investigations. For you, is there any one thing that's a huge deal, any one wow?
Well, I definitely don't want to rank the various crimes that Donald Trump may have committed and should be held accountable for.
But let's be clear, he hasn't been held accountable for anything yet.
Indeed. And I do think that this investigation is different because it's not just about past accountability, which matters, but as the Justice Department said today, there are ongoing possible threats to the nation's security. And what I think they did today is put Judge Cannon on notice that if she stands by the entirety of the ruling that she issued last week, she could have blood on her hands for what could happen if we don't figure out what are these documents, who has them, what are they planning to do with them.
But what does blood on her hands mean? Is that not an idle threat? She's on the bench for life.
Oh, it's a threat to her reputation. It's a threat to her conscience. I'm not sure that the word threat is the right thing, but I think it was I hope that she cares, because this is what they said to her today. They said to her, look, possibly the worst thing about the ruling last week was that she told the Department of Justice that they had to just stop their criminal investigation, right? And that they had to pause for what seemed like it would be a really long time. A special master is appointed, and then he starts his work, and there are all sorts of new legal questions, and those get appealed up. And then exactly. And they said, you know, if you're going to make us do that, we're also going to have to stop the damage assessment that you agreed was really important, because the FBI participates in both and we can't do one without the other. And so we're going to put our pens down and we're going to sit on our hands, and that's going to be on you. And I think that that was a really strong thing to say. And then they kind of sweetened it or tempered it a little bit, because then they also said to her, here's a way for you to save face. You can stand by this ruling, even though we think it's wrong and terrible, most of it. You could keep going with your special master idea, and you could keep going with your executive privilege idea, but just let us have our 100 classified documents. You do you with the 16 boxes, and let us just make sure that the nation is safe.
Do you realize how crazy this is?
And continue with this criminal investigation.
Just let us have our 100 classified documents. Katie, in the separate investigation, let's talk about Steve Bannon. We saw him surrender in a New York City courthouse today. He is accused of stealing millions of dollars for a border wall. And as usual, he just made a whole lot of noise and fought it. Watch this.
This is what happens the last days of a dying regime. They will never shut me up. They'll have to kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
He has not yet begun to fight. So on one hand, we're saying, man, this guy is in huge trouble. He never seems to care. What does his future look like?
Well, I mean, I think that he's taken a strong stance in the public that he does not care, and this is not a big deal for him. But keep in mind, when he was under investigation, federal investigation for similar charges, this is before he received his pardon from the president, multiple former Trump administration officials have said on the record in magazine articles, like a very lengthy piece in the Atlantic magazine, have said in their own memoirs that they felt that Steve Bannon sort of reemerged after being exiled from Trump world, that he kind of reemerged in order to obtain a pardon. But this is a state charge, so he does not have access to a presidential pardon. This is no longer on the table for him. And it's a really similar set of charges to what we saw the federal government investigating, which is whether or not he essentially swindled people who had donated money to build a wall and wrongfully said that he was going to use the funds and then misused them and misappropriated them.
Okay, but Tali, I know this sounds twisted. He swindled people out of millions of dollars for a wall that wasn't built. But those people are still donating more money. He's raising more money today. Does that weaken the case? You defrauded these people, but by the way, they don't seem to mind.
Well, interestingly, the indictment referred to hundreds of donors in Manhattan who were swindled by him. And I have to think that the prosecutors who brought this indictment have some of those donors and were able to get their testimony and to say, you know, I do feel bad about this. You know, it's interesting. The same issue is the issue in the other investigation that we learned about today, that the Department of Justice, through the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, is looking at a similar scam of Trump taking money, right, for one purpose and using it for another, for enriching himself and his friends, just like Bannon said he was taking money for this wall, but instead was using it for other things. And there, too, they're going to have some people who say, I was swindled and I'm not going to stand for it.
At least some. Katie Benner, Tali Farhadian Weinstein, great to see you both.